I don't know. We're recording now. We're recording now.
We're doing the Bar Wars.
We're doing
Ladies
guys.
and gentlemen, welcome
We just
to the...
realized. We just realized that
Jesus.
we are doing this episode on May the 4th. So we're all picking real quick our favorite Star Wars bars. Like,
I literally have to do research to find.
I had to do research. My thing is that, like, okay, so I was not someone who was like raised on Star Wars. I was raised on Star Trek.
Okay.
So like I didn't get into like the lore until like I was like 21, you know, like until like the hype around The Force Awakens, like when that was announced. That's like when I got into Star Wars. So like I was already listening to a lot of hip hop, and I was just like thought like a bunch of stuff was just like sounds and beeps and stuff, and then it turns out they were all like there was a bunch of Star Wars references.
Right.
And obviously, like the best one I can think of was from Kanye West, Guilt Trip, Yeezus, Star Wars Fur, I Be Rockin' Chew, Baka.
That is a bar, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I've got one that's gonna blow you both away.
What's one?
All right, what's yours?
Oh my God, Childish Gambino.
Yeah. We're all on the same website, probably.
I was just looking at one of them. Okay, what's yours, Jasper?
It's what's the name of the actual song? Goddamn. I'm so bad with this album. Like I know all the songs by heart. Like listening to them.
It's because the internet. It's the C3PO one, right?
Yeah, she's dressed up in gold. C3PO, C3PO.
Oh, here's a really good one. Han Solo till I'm hit by the bullet, so may the force be with you, and I'll hit you when better time permits. From Happy Valentine's Day, Outcast. That's an Andre 3000 bar. Andre 3000 can reference Star Wars.
Even he does it, honestly.
Like,
I just found a Denzel Curry one.
He has a whole song called X-Wing. Like, he has a whole ass song.
Literally, yes. The whole
X-Wing.
song is called X-Wing.
Yeah,
This one's just who said Jesus can't be a black guy. Even Luke Skywalker's father was on the dark side. That's a bar.
That's a bar.
I've got. I think the first. I think this might be the first Star Wars reference in all of rap right here.
Okay.
Hit him with the force like Obi. Biggie off Hypnotize.
Jesus.
That's possible.
Oh yeah, that's thorough.
I'm just gonna. That's definitely possible, but there's got to be a Wu-Tang Star Wars bar, or were they?
There is one.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta find it. I saw someone talk. I'm literally on like a Reddit right now, and I saw someone talking about it. There's another Biggie one. They were saying, Star Wars. I'm Han Solo with 3 eagles and 3 charges. I get to see 3PO.
There's a lot of Han Solo lines.
Yeah.
I mean, Han Solo's the guy.
I just think it's a good movie that people watch, and therefore would rap like. And I just don't.
It just makes sense.
It just makes sense. So happy Star Wars Day, everybody! Like, I think I could agree with everyone when I say Star Wars is pretty cool, but people take it way too seriously.
Is that like the same thing with all the major movies like Marvel and
not Lord of the Rings? Lord of the Rings fans chilling.
Except when they cast a black elf, then they get real racist. But yes, Lord of the Rings fans are some of the better ones, I will say.
Is Harry Potter the worst?
I didn't know about this black elf business, but
you didn't watch Rings of Power? It's fine.
No.
If you didn't, you don't have to.
That just reminded me of Donald Glover. Donald Glover could be Spider-Man. We only want Donald Glover if it's Spider-Man. Everybody else, he's black. Kill him.
That's so funny. Dude, I love that stand-up special. I'm going to watch it tonight. Thank you for that.
It's so good. It's aged so poorly, but it's so good.
I know. I would love for him to come back to stand-up one day. Oh. Speaking of Star Wars, he was literally Lando.
In Star Wars.
He was Lando. I still
haven't seen it.
He's made it.
The movie itself is like a lot better than I expected, but also nothing that special. He's awesome. But what you really got to check out is the Star Wars skit he did on SNL, where it's like the collection of black Jedis or like black humans in the Star Wars universe. And there's like 4 people there. And it's like 4 black people, 10 lizards wearing vests. Like,
just reminds me of like that other like alien species that has the like 2
the Twi'leks
things. Yeah, it's like I'm pretty sure there's some kind of George Lucas had some weird like racial ideas going on there somewhere.
He's a fellow miscegenator, so it's possible.
I believe it, so.
My one of my best friends, shout out Patrick. If I tell him there's Star Wars in this, he'll absolutely be watching because he loves Kid Cudi.
I also have a Patrick that loves Kid Cudi and Star Wars, so he will be watching.
Yeah,
this.
but mine's black, so win.
Token Patrick.
This is true. The token Patrick.
Yeah, shout out token Patrick. Do you have a Patrick, Jasper?
You need a token Patrick now.
I actually don't.
Yeah.
I have a friend who has a Patrick.
Yeah.
I don't know if he likes Star Wars or not.
But my buddy Patrick, he was at the AMC we saw Air at one day when we were in college, and he just ran into George Lucas. He called me crying, like having met him.
Jesus,
wild.
That's insane.
Yeah, because like he loves Star
That's
Wars.
actually really dope.
Yeah, and it was the year The Force Awakens came out, so like Star Wars love was at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Oh.
There was a new hope at that point.
Okay, Purvis, bring in the news. Bring in the news. I'm done with this. God damn it. God
we walked
damn
into
it!
a bit and now we're leaving.
No, but tell me it's not valid because there was so much hope and excitement for the new trilogy to be good, and the first movie was good, and then everything else was just like, nah. How about we don't do that?
Nah, Last Jedi is great. Last Jedi.
Stand on that.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Well, that's Rise of Skywalker, which I do not defend. That movie is ass. It is one of the worst Star Wars movies.
Which one?
I don't know.
Rise of Skywalker.
That movie was cool until Leia flew through space. I was like,
I don't know. I'm just like, I thought the visuals on that were just so striking.
There were some pretty visuals for sure.
Yeah,
but I mean, Rogue One had pretty visuals, and that's one of my least favorite movies.
No, nowhere near as good of visuals as The Last Jedi, and I was speaking specifically about that Leia scene. And the other thing is that, like, I don't know, like it wasn't kind of like, don't get me wrong, there are criticisms of The Last Jedi, and it's not like the best Star Wars movie.
No,
but I defend it. That movie gets way too much hate. It's great.
They tried to go Return of the Jedi route, or not Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, where it's like it's real like 11th hour type shit, and they just didn't. I don't think they pulled it off.
I don't know. I felt like it was very much a homage to Empire Strikes Back, and like I don't think they pulled off Empire Strikes Back. I think there's some issues with it, but
yeah,
it gets right up there. But I think there's a lot of stuff that people hate that I think is just
fair. I mean, it gave us the Kylo Ren more meme, so yeah. I'm cool with that. Yeah. More.
That's a highlight.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to music now. No more Star Wars.
Enough of that crap.
Anyone who represents Star Wars has to send me $1 now.
Promise you I won't bring it up. The actual albums we have coming out. We have a couple of EPs. We have Denzel Curry coming out with Live at Electric Lady. Super excited for this.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. That's like a live album, like a short little live album.
I believe so. I'm curious how he's transitioning over because he did say his next one's gonna be R&B, I believe. So maybe we'll get a taste of it finally. On the other side of the spectrum, we have DaBaby coming out with Call the Fireman.
Okay.
I thought he was done. I thought when he did comedy, he was done.
No, we have not been freed of this curse yet.
I don't know what to expect anymore. I might listen to it.
I can't wait for the DaBaby Tom McDonald collab.
Dude, I can't. Ooh. Oh my god, the cancel culture crossover.
Yeah,
that would be a lot.
Just sliding more and more into just like weird, shitty, right wing memedom.
I just can't wait until I get that YouTube video recommends and I can put not interested. Like,
oh yes, not interested. Tell us why. I've already watched the video.
No, my YouTube is just gonna block it out for me. In other really good news, we have Conway the Machine coming out with Won't He Do It?
Oh my god, again?
Griselda, baby.
Won't he do it?
This is a direct like gospel reference, but we also have Brett Fayez coming out with the chopped and screwed version of Wasteland. He's had a very big week as he also has a single coming out with Marshmello for Fall in Love, and he announced the tour.
I don't know if I can swing this one. It's like 3 days after Beyonce.
It's so much going on. Dude, I think if I recall correctly,
this is not a concert you see with your boys.
No, that's the thing.
Yeah, this is not like.
I believe the day they're in Chicago is June 27th, which is like 3 days or a couple of days after like Summer Smash as well.
Yeah. Oh, is it
So I'm just
June
like-
or is it
Was
July?
it June or July? Ooh, that's a good question, actually. I
Either
don't know.
way.
We're not going to be
Yeah,
there.
look, Brent, I love you. And look, Fuck the World.
Amazing.
Top 5 albums of the 2020s so far for me. But I don't know.
Don't know if I could pull this one off. We'll see.
Don't know. Maybe, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to pay the ticket price you deserve. Like, that's the thing, right? Like,
that is a very respectful way to put it.
Yeah. Like,
we also have IDK coming out with F56. Really excited for that.
Hold up.
Yes.
Is it 56 or 65?
65.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think. I can double check. Let me double check actually. Let's see. Do you follow him as well? Because I feel like he's one of like the lower artists or low key artists.
I've heard him as a feature, but I've never listened to him like separately.
I'm unfamiliar.
Okay, yeah, F65. Oh, is that a shoe collab? What the heck? Okay, sorry, getting distracted. But yeah, super excited for that. And then we have Jaleel coming out with Real Raw in all caps.
I'm into this. I like Jaleel.
This will be the high energy album that you need.
No, I like Jaleel. Of all those guys in that lane, Jaleel is by far my favorite.
Yeah. It just helps that he's a nice person.
Yeah,
just
I like
a good
that.
person.
Oh yeah, dude. It's being a nice person is a multiplier. Like
it goes far in today's society.
It goes far. Like it's always nice. It's like air. You know, like I love that I could just love that movie and know it was made super ethically. Like, Is that a hard Mountain Dew?
It might be.
Oh God,
I'm trying everything,
dude. I love the hard Arizonas. They're pretty good.
I have that in my refrigerator. I have a Lipton one. I have the Sunny D one, and also have something else that I can't remember.
Ooh.
I had a run, but anyway, we also have a couple singles coming out. We have Gucci Mane featuring Roddy Ricch and Nardo Wick coming out with the song Pissy. And then we have Camo featuring Lil Yachty coming out with Without You. There is a snippet on Instagram, and I feel like he is rocking with the singing. He's getting it.
You think so?
Honestly, I like it. In terms of like artists that have taken like insane shifts in their careers and just like completely change away from their previous style, which he can still do. This is a surprisingly nice one because it doesn't always work.
I don't know. Like I never hated Lil Yachty, right? But like I don't think his original style was something all that special. You know? I didn't hate it. Like once again, like I think he's a cool dude, but like I did not particularly care for a lot of those earlier albums. I like songs. I liked him as like a feature artist, and I've liked what he's done as he moved into production. I've yet to listen to his album that came out in January. I feel really bad about it, but
it's a complete shift.
I know it's a complete shift, and like I'll probably listen to it tonight. Now that I think about it. I always say that, and I never do, but maybe.
Put it on. Put it in the queue. Just next time you play Spotify, just have it come up. Yeah, I think it'll be worth it.
And I will. I want to, but and I think like he's an artist I buy going in this direction.
Jasper, did you listen to the new one?
Yeah, I haven't listened to it like all the way through. I've listened to the songs that are, I guess,
the big
that appear more in like the like just like my recommended. I need to go through it. It's interesting because I have a lot of familiarity with like original prog rock as it kind of sits from like the, I guess, early to mid 70s. So it'll be interesting to see like what influences this really draws as like a whole body of work and how if it's done anything to push the envelope. From what I've seen and like what I've listened to, it doesn't sound like it really pushes the envelope, but you know, I'm gonna hold out, just suspend my disbelief for a little bit while I'm going through it.
I get that.
Yeah.
I feel like you would have a really good perspective. Like you said, if you have that background, you might actually pick up on sounds and samples that I just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I know too much Pink Floyd for my own mental health. So
all in all,
that's what's up.
No.
And yeah, I thought my puns were bad.
My background prog rock is mostly Rush.
True.
I don't even know
that's like a different side of.
It's
prog
very
rock,
different.
yeah.
It's a lot more nerdy.
Frantic.
So it's a lot more frantic. It's a lot more technical. I mean, I don't know. Maybe like, I don't want to say like Pink Floyd isn't technical.
It's technical in a different way.
Yeah. Pink Floyd has just excellent songwriting. It's technical in the soft skill kind of way. Whereas like Rush is a lot more like noodly, very technical. Like has like
it's technical in terms of instrumentation, but then
and like time
Pink Floyd is very technical in production.
It's very yes, that's very true. They're very technical with production. The songwriting on Pink Floyd I think is like a lot tighter. So like very different vibes, but also like kind of the two main staples. I think Pink Floyd is definitely a much bigger band though.
Deep dive on Dark Side of the Moon when?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't know if I've even heard Pink Floyd.
Do we want to try and sync it up with The Wizard of Oz?
Oh, Jesus. Just play backwards, why don't you?
Oh, what we could do is we can take Redacted and go to the planetarium and do when they're doing Laser Floyd.
There you go.
What is going on?
Have you never heard of Laser Floyd?
Everything will be revealed in time.
They do like a laser show, like in the.
I mean, I would go to that. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, no, it's Triton in River Grove, right there. They used to do it. I went there once as like a 19-year-old. It was very fun. Like
Purvis, I have one song that will get you hooked on Pink Floyd and want more. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
No, I'm not. I'm not super familiar with Pink Floyd. I know...
Listen to. You know what? I'll save it. It's gonna be one of my recommended this week.
Oh boy. Okay. All right, bet.
All right, let's go to the news.
Yeah, we have. Well, what I want to go through first, actually. 50 Cent announced that he is doing one final lap tour. This will be in Europe and the United States. It almost feels like, and I think it was mentioned in what you sent me. Is this going to be an anniversary tour almost?
Yeah, it's like the 20th anniversary. I think it's like his farewell tour.
Okay.
Which, the final lap tour really sells that idea, I think. And it's also the 20th anniversary of Get Rich or Die Trying. Which, like...
Fuck, I'm old.
Yeah, I know. It's like so easy, especially in a post-Kanye world. Especially like in a truly post-Kanye world. Like, it's really hard to like have... strong feelings about 50 Cent because he went out with such a, the graduation thing. Just really, there was a very aggressive changing of the guards in that moment. But man, did that guy define hip hop for 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could argue that he is the original precursor to what has become mumble rap. Like his style is definitely like in that vein. I feel like it's a very kind of early set. I want
to argue with you, but the more I think about it, I can't.
It's valid, right? Like,
yeah, no, it's definitely valid, especially like production style, especially like how it was viewed, like not from necessary. Because the thing about the one part about that I think gets lost is like the within versus outside the culture. I think from within the culture, yeah, it's very much a precursor to mumble rap. I think like you could draw a direct line through 50 Cent to like Waka Flocka and like into mumble rap.
I just looked up the In the Club music video just because nostalgia.
Classic video.
It has. I want you to guess how many likes does it have and how many views does it have.
Which song is this?
In the Club.
Okay, I'm gonna guess 17,000 likes.
One more time.
17,000 likes.
10 million.
Of those, the joke
likes.
Yeah.
10 million likes. How many views do you think it has?
1.7 billion.
Exactly. Yes.
Wow! Holy shit!
It's 1.7 billion.
Play the
views.
lottery.
Can you imagine he goes on this world tour for this or whatever it is, and he gets to his Australia dates, and he just performs in the club standing up?
I would love that. That's hilarious.
Everywhere else, he's like, on the pull-up bar or whatever, and then just, or not even the pull-up bar. Well, I guess it is a pull-up bar, but just like, oh, well, Australia.
This is... Sorry, I'm looking at it right now. This is 13 years old.
What?
I can't believe this is 13 years old.
What is 13 years old?
In the Club.
The actual music video.
Oh, yeah, and that's almost certainly like
A re-upload.
A re-upload. Like it's older than that.
It's from 2005, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine?
That's 18 years ago.
Yeah, it was posted years after it came out.
And it accrued that many plays in after the fact. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember? And it was such a big deal at the time when Gangnam Style like was the first video to hit
a
billion, and now just the song has almost doubled it.
I just realized this video is up. It's 10 years old, but it's in 4K.
It is in 4K.
That's insane. Like,
do you think it might be upscaled?
No, because YouTube doesn't use. This is like a source video file 4K.
Yeah,
because YouTube doesn't have its own. 4K.
Then it was probably shot on film.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense to me.
There wasn't 4K cameras back then.
I mean, there was, but it was like
not
you were James Cameron, like that was
George Lucas was shooting with 1080 in 2005. He shot Attack of the Clones in 1080 digital.
Let me see.
Or 2K.
Because I'm trying to remember, because we were at the Blue Store really when it 4K really happened.
4K for
consumer
TV,
purposes.
Consumer
for TVs, not for shooting movies.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So the cinema spec. We're going down the fucking rabbit hole here.
It's just Eminem and Dre in a video like it's nothing.
Yeah, in the background, yeah, the fucking
young
Me video.
Eminem.
I'm low-key kind of shocked Eminem's not in the store.
It's an interesting selection. I think it was Jeremiah and
I have news
Grimes.
for you. Yeah. The Dalsa Origin was the first commercially available cinema 4K camera, available and originally shown at the NAB show in 2003 in Las Vegas. So 4K was commercially available from 2004 onward. So when this was shot, it's entirely possible it was digital.
Is it likely?
Maybe.
No, it's not.
It's almost certainly was shot in film. Everything was shot in film back then.
Sorry, I just had like a throwback flashback moment watching that video.
Yeah. It's one of those.
Do you think, and obviously this is something I want to bring up because I know this is more of an exception as it's, like you said, a last run tour. But with this coming back directly connected to Get Rich or Die Trying, and we also have an acid rap kind of tour now that he announced the LA and New York stops as well. Do you like the concept of throwback tours?
I mean,
I think it's dope.
Anniversary tours have been a thing in rock music for at least 30, 40 years.
Totally.
You should never see it in hip hop.
So it's just because it's so young.
We're going to the 10-year acid rap tour.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like we have the acid rap one and we have this, but like I feel like I haven't really heard any other hip hop, at least to my knowledge.
I also
There's
think
no other like throwback tours.
Yeah, no, I hope it's a trend that catches on, but I think
Wu-Tang didn't have something like that, did they?
I think they did at some point. I think they had like a back together tour at some point.
Oh yeah, like a reunion one. Yeah.
Okay. And then they started, and they've done a ton of shows since.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I like it. I think it's a really cool thing. I love it when bands do it. It's a really big thing in rock music. Last year, I saw Yellow Card, and they did the anniversary of Ocean Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a real commitment when you do it that way, because like their biggest hit is the song Ocean Avenue off that album, and it's usually their encore. But they played the album in sequence, so they started with the song they usually play as an encore, which is ballsy. Like that's especially if you're a band like Yellow Card. Like, don't get me wrong, great bands, but like they don't have My Chemical Romance style like fan base.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
no, I get that.
I love the idea of like these reunion tours.
Give me one album, both of you, and I can go first. Just one album you want to hear that's like a throwback tour that an artist actually does.
Easy
for you?
Yeah.
Who? Or
Marshall Mathers LP.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Easy.
Do you think he'll be able to deliver? Just curious.
I mean, his voice is totally different now. I don't know. I have no idea.
I think so, but I don't know for sure. He seems like he's a decent performer. Like he was. Remember the halftime show? Yeah.
He was good.
Yeah,
what I would give to see The Way I Am live.
Yeah.
That song is underrated.
Okay.
You know, this is gonna be like, I'm gonna have a real answer.
Okay.
I'm gonna have a real answer, right?
But you need to get something off your chest.
Because legitimately, the album I wanted to see the most in this format was Acid Rap.
Completely justified.
Valid. Yeah.
I would say like
that would have been mine too.
Yeah. Maybe just like in the same vein, I could think maybe House of Balloons reunion, or those original trilogy of mixtapes. I would love that. Or
And The Weeknd would deliver.
Or hear me out here. Wiz Khalifa Rolling Papers reunion tour.
Wow. Okay.
That'd be wild.
I'd love to see that, dude.
That would be fun to be at. Like,
Black and Yellow is one of the hardest songs I've ever seen live. Like
I have 3 more I just thought of that I need to share with both.
Jesus.
But Purvis, I want you to go first, so I don't take
everyone needs to get it off their chest.
Any of your thunder.
You brought it up. You unleashed this
I know.
Box.
It's my fault. The first one that came to mind, Lupe Fiasco, Food and Liquor. If I can go back to that time period and see him do that.
When I saw him at Riot
Jesus.
Fest, he did Food and Liquor. Wait,
that's amazing.
Was it? Let me double check.
Was it the Cool or Food and Liquor?
It was one of the two. It was he did it, and he did it out of order, and he did some other songs too, but he did every song off the album.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So when I saw him at Riot Fest, he did that.
All right, Jasper, what do you need to get off your chest? Which ones?
Stankonia.
Which one?
Stankonia.
Okay, what's that?
Outcast.
Oh.
Yeah. You didn't know that was Outcast?
The Outcast reunion where they do Miss Jackson live. Hello, I will be there.
Yeah. It was
Finally
Cool,
Rich.
by the way. Oh, Finally Rich would be great.
Finally Rich would be great.
None of us would leave alive. Like
the
venue would burn down.
We would be in danger. We would actually be.
When I hear Hate Being Sober, over.
Like, that's my life story.
Yeah. It's like Chief Keef was talking to me. Like.
Also,
I know he jumping on stage.
I know he does songs from it, but Man on the Moon too.
Okay.
Legend of Mr. Rager.
Another one.
The original versions.
Yeah.
No. Sorry, Brandon.
Because the internet would also be one.
Because the internet would be a good one. 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like we can do this 1 hour. So.
You know what else would be a good one?
What else would be a good one?
Man on the Moon. First off, someone's birthday, ladies and gentlemen.
Cheers.
Cheers. It is
celebration.
It is the lad Jasper's birthday.
Cheers.
You should at least have water. Like
that's the bare minimum.
So yeah, Jasper is 38 years old this year.
Yes.
Give or take.
A sprightly 38.
Yeah.
Give or take a couple.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And he had something he wanted to do for his birthday, so run it.
Yes, sir. This is going to be a special little episode on my favorite album of all time, Man on the Moon, End of Day, Kid Cudi.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I didn't know you put the title of all time. I'm sorry, I didn't know.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
This is it for me. I have logged more time with this album than probably any other.
I'll say my favorite song of all time is on this album.
There you go.
Night. I know that.
It's hard to compete with a lot of stuff on here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest.
This is true.
This was, even though I did, if there was ever an album I did not need to listen to before getting on this podcast.
I was thinking the same thing.
Like, if there was ever an album where it's just like, I just have to have Wikipedia open, like...
Not even that.
So, you know how you two will like text each other lyrics and shit and just be like goofy with it?
Yeah.
I do that shit by myself when I'm like alone. It'll be completely quiet in my house where I am alone. And I'll just be like, out in the other room doing dishes, and all of a sudden be like, "Oh, whoa, whoa."
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. He has that effect, and this album is an undeniable classic.
So yeah,
Undeniable.
Classic
Let's just
of
get to that.
classics.
Like, I just
Yeah.
don't think there is any.
We're not even gonna ask.
We're just
Zero
not even gonna.
debate. There's
Like, it's
zero
in this.
debate.
It's in this. Like, write up we have. I thought, ironically, like, it is just so obviously a classic to every.
Actually, though, that question wasn't there at first. I was gonna say this was the
So
first.
I put it there. I put it there
Yeah.
just so that we could follow the format of the rest of the deep dives.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this was gonna be the first deep dive where we weren't even gonna ask it, and then we
Yeah.
added it afterwards.
Yeah.
Certified.
Yeah, I understand. What are we doing today, Jasper? What
Yeah.
have
So-
you created for us?
So I want to go through just like our thoughts and feelings on it, and our general kind of like background and little things about it that we know and that we're familiar with, what it means to us, and also like what it means to the industry, and just like how it really had an impact or like made a difference in music. And then I have a little activity after that where we're going to be going through the track listing, and we're going to be putting them on a tier list. And I have a custom tier list made up just for music that I think we can maybe use going forward.
I hope it has a big ass S tier section.
Oh, it's got different names than like S, A, B.
Yeah,
You'll
because
see.
it's like,
It's gonna be 3 categories. Great, great, great. It's like, okay.
yeah, it's like, I mean, dead ass though. Are there bad songs on this album? I don't know. Like,
Hot take might be one. Not bad, but not as good as the others because there's a lot of like top
no
tier songs.
album ever besides possibly.
It's just not fair.
Yeah, no album is equally good all the way through. Like,
Right.
even things that are like short and dynamic and excellent aren't even that consistent.
I will say,
yeah,
there's a difference in quality because of a kind of like a caveat with this album.
Okay.
The standard edition, masterpiece. The deluxe edition, in my opinion, takes away from it a little bit. And that's because of the song that closes it out.
see, I just never consider, I guess it's like almost like an ideological difference. Like, to me, saying like the Man on the Moon, TGIF, and Is There Any Love, like, to me, like, saying that those ruin the experience of the album is like saying the deleted scenes on the DVD like ruin the experience of the movie when it's like in a different
that's fair. It's just, and it's not even all three. For me, just Is There Any Love does not fit the vibe of the conclusion to the album, because we'll talk about it. Like the way I interpret this album when I listen to it is like a little different from others, and it's just like it feels like it almost takes away from the feeling that, or like the energy that is cultivated throughout the listening, because it's like you can tell it comes from a very different kind of area in terms of production, in terms of its focus and its subject matter, and it was
produced. It was produced years before.
No,
and
I know.
I guess like my point is just I think that's an unfair standard for bonus tracks.
I think that's fair, but my problem then becomes the fact that I guess it's less a problem with the actual bonus tracks themselves and the way they're presented in the context of how we consume them, because when you're on Spotify, one thing just rolls into the next, into the next, into the next. There's no break, right? Like if this were an actual CD, these would be like, there'd be a big ass gap, and then there's some bonus tracks. Or maybe you have to like do something on your player to get it to actually play the bonus tracks, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think in that way, maybe the medium that we engage it on is, for me, a detractor.
Yeah.
I'm curious then, because at least for me, if I'm going to listen to this album, I just click the deluxe.
Yeah.
I didn't even like.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if I've ever.
I've been doing
like
it
the
too.
original one. Okay. So I was just curious, like if you're at home, because you're right. There is a natural pacing and flow to this album that makes it a classic, and ending on up and away is intentional.
Yes.
Now I love Man on the Moon. I love
Me too.
TGIF. I love Is There Any Love personally.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't bother me. But you're right. It was supposed to end a certain fashion. So I was just curious, like, do you listen to it without the deluxe, or do you just like I'm gonna play it all anyway?
For this, and since I've been listening to this album on Spotify, I've just been doing the deluxe for the hell of it, because those songs were on there, and they weren't on streaming for a long time, just because up until recently with the re-release of Kid Named Cudi. But I grew up with a copy of the original without the deluxe edition, just the standard white sleeve with the artwork on the front, fold open, single CD. So that was like my thing.
Oh, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So we can kind of get into it a little bit. I want to know, where were both of you when you heard something off this album for the first time? I'm sure there's memory.
Junior prom.
Okay.
Junior prom.
Okay. I heard the Crookers remix of Day and Night.
Okay. I was gonna say this isn't very like a prom album, but
yeah, it was the Crookers remix. Yeah, all the way back in 2009. And then I immediately, because it was a shitty prom, the next day I just went. I got iTunes I got an iTunes card and I bought the whole album. And like I was not in, like I was someone who at that point like I only listened to like metal, punk, and Kanye West. Like maybe a little bit of Eminem, but it was like I didn't really listen to hip hop like as a genre really. I just listened to Kanye. Mm-hmm. I kind of low key like I kind of saw myself as like above it, which is shitty.
Well, that's what being in high school is like.
Yeah, that's what you are when you're 16. Yeah, you're right.
Not to say.
And like this was very much like a gateway. If Kanye was gateway into like hip hop as music, this was a gateway into like hip hop as culture, because like, you know, my senior year, which was I spent a summer listening to this, like the amount of just like friends I made, just being able to talk about Kid Cudi with people was like almost like a life-changing thing. Like it was like almost like, oh my God, like there's like a real fan base and a passion like for this kind of music. Right. And yeah, no, I think that this was, there's sedimentary layers of meaning on this album for me. Like there's like how I felt about it like in high school. I revisited it heavy like when I was in college, and like my first round in college, like when Man on the Moon 2 came out. I listened to it a lot when I was at Columbia downtown. Like I revisited it heavy then. And then I revisited it really heavy during the pandemic, like in the run up to Man on the Moon 3. And I don't know if you remember this, but I did not have high hopes for Man on the Moon 3.
Oh yeah, I actually do remember that.
Yeah, I had very, very low expectations, and I was blown away.
To be fair, after the first and second, it's hard to stay at that level.
And the fact that the only thing I thought Cudi had put out of quality was Kid See Ghost at that point. In a while, you know, in a while.
I still seem to be the only person who actually likes Passion, Pain, and Demon Slaying.
Yep,
I do. I do. I like it. No, I like it. Yeah. I will join you on that list.
It's a long album. Yeah. There's a lot on it.
It's a long album.
It's a long album.
But I think it's a scenic route that's worth the trip. Personally,
I disagree. I'll give it to you. It's better than the one before that and the one before that.
Satellite Flight is solid though. I don't know.
I think when you. I just think Satellite Flight, like I like a few songs off it, but zero emotional impact. Like it didn't
personally.
Yeah, it didn't offend me like Speeding Bullet to Heaven did, but like zero staying power. And I
love and Goose It.
Yeah. But Man on the Moon 2, Indicud, I loved Indicud.
Let me see. I just remember one of like the music videos where it had the actual framing on the picture.
That's from that album. Is that King Wizard?
That's King. That's all. So a bunch of the videos from the Indicud era had the one with the frame on it. That was.
Oh wait, Just What I Am has that too.
Just What I Am. I think King Wizard has it too. I think multiple videos have it.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah, no, it's a good aesthetic.
You know who designed it, right?
Who?
Virgil.
Amazing. Yeah. Even better.
Same as he did Watch the Throne with the gilded. Same as all of that. This shirt is Virgil. Pretty much everything Cudi is actually done by Virgil. Even like the clothing design for Intergalactic.
Yeah.
That was like Virgil's last big project before he passed. R.I.P.
Miss him. What an impact. Jesus.
What an impact.
My personal introduction to this album in general, and just any of Kid Cudi, I feel like the entire genre was handed down to me by Isaac, my brother. So there was like 3 artists. It was Kid Cudi, it was Lupe Fiasco, and it was J. Cole.
He did
And
do
like,
good. Well,
it's a good starter pack.
it was a similar sequence for me. Lupe Fiasco was very quickly after my Kid Cudi phase.
Yes,
and then
it
Mac
was
Miller.
all together. Mac Miller was in there as well.
Yeah.
So with that being said, like being so young and being introduced to this kind of music is a very different outlook than like your standard hip hop, like CD. Because especially around that time, I feel like a lot of topics do not cover what Kid Cudi covers.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of people be like, "Oh, Kid Cudi saved my life." Like he legitimately did save some people's life. So that alone, just like his impact, his storyline, this album, he is going to be one of those names like you tell your children, like legitimately though.
He is 100% like a just fixture in my media consumption now. Like, there's just no getting around it. Like, I'm going to be listening to Man on the Moon until the day I die.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
It's got to be in my top 10 of all time.
So, Jasper, where were you?
Yeah.
So I have a very specific kind of nostalgic connection to this album. Back when I was in grade school, there were a bunch of kids who lived in my block, like friend, neighbor kids, right? And one of them was this kid, Tyler, who I'm still in touch with today. And Tyler had an older brother who was in high school at the time named Brandon. And Brandon was the one who like was into all of the trendy shit. Yeah, other more different Brandon.
I was about to say, it's be another one of those situations where we've known each other for 10 years and didn't know. Like,
right, there you go. And so Tyler and his brother were both into like skating because that was the thing that you do in the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
And so I was really into like video and film and photos and stuff because my grandpa was into it and my dad had like an art background and everything. And my dad bought one of those way back in the day, those little old vertical flip cameras. You remember those? I had
one of those too.
Yeah, you pull the thing on the side, the USB flips out. Yeah.
They were very cool.
Plug it in from like some stupid angle because the thing would never like the USB cord didn't bend. It was just like a brick, whatever. Right. But so Tyler and I wound up starting to shoot little skating videos of him just like doing whatever he could do on a board on the flip. And he's like, why don't I put this on YouTube? Or why don't we put this on YouTube? And so we did. He made a channel and we started putting stuff up. We needed to put music to it. And he picked the song Pursuit of Happiness. And this was probably like, we did like a wintertime video. We tried to do like a snow skateboarding video just to like, because it was like so different. And so this was probably like January of 2010. And I like was at his place. He like Windows Movie Maker like dropped the file in, played it, and I was like, what is this? And that was that. Just like
yeah.
And the thing is, like, I was familiar with the album for a long time before I think it really became something where I recognized what it was or how significant it was. I don't think it was until I was like 16 that it really made an impact on me because I was probably like 13 at the time, maybe like 12 or 13. And then it was like once, maybe I was even younger. I might have been like 11. But once I was like 16, 17, then I was like, yeah, this is starting to make a whole lot more sense as far as like what the album's about, what it means to me personally, and how it's like then impacted my taste and also just like my feelings around conversations that are had or like the topics that are covered. So yeah, definitely like something that I grew up with and then saw the value in more the more I listened to it. Like I further appreciated it the more I indulged in it.
I like that.
I absolutely hate that you heard this when you were 11. Like
I don't know if I was actually 11. I was somewhere in that range.
But
I was
still
probably like.
I know you don't.
No, you know what? Okay, no, I was in 7th grade. So how old was I in 7th
12
grade?
12 or 13.
Yeah. Okay, so I was probably 12 at the time because I have a spring birthday, so I was probably 12.
No.
And I mean, to be honest, this is one of those albums that like you can actually grow up with. I feel like a lot of albums don't age very well.
Oh, 100%.
Like the meanings may not change, but at every point in your life, you can come back to this album and like it'll affect you in a different way.
It's so
Yeah.
crazy. It's so crazy how like different circumstances like you can definitely pull out of here, you know, because it's an album that begs re-listening. Honestly, even though I think the other two are of similar quality in terms of just like how good are the songs on the album, I think this quality, that ability to revisit it, I think is unique for this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This one has much more of a narrative structure that makes it feel as though there's progression.
Yeah.
And you can really see it and the influence that it's had. You look at like other artists seeking to imitate that now. And that's one of the things for me that I think really defines what I consider to be a good Kid Cudi project, is if it has a feeling of momentum told through a story. And this album does it very literally in the sense that it's got the voiceover and the dialogue from Common. But Passion, Pain, and Demon Slaying also kind of does that for me. I feel like I can very much pick out acts almost from the tonality of the album and say like, okay, act 1 is Frequency through Swim in the Light through Releaser. That's like some real dark shit. And then you move into like By Design and everything else where it's like, okay, things are like a little bit more positive now. And you kind of get this feeling of progression as you go throughout the project, and you definitely have that on Man on the Moon, and I think that's where it really kind of stems from.
Yeah, no, it has. This is a narrative forward album, and like yeah, it's a little dreamlike. It's a little like you don't know exactly what it means, but like it's not as maybe as narrative driven as like Good Kid, Mad City, but like close.
Yeah.
But I think that's the right balance for like both the sonic aesthetics of the album and also the things Kid Cudi wants to approach. I think that's the right balance of it. I don't think it should be more or less.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to put such a kind of like linear narrative structure to it, because a lot of this is internal dialogue that he's having with himself, essentially. So, I mean, you two are capable of internal thought. Like, those things are not always linear, right? Yeah. So it's like to lay that out in a way that even approaches making sense or being cohesive to a listener, I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah. Quick sidebar. Did you guys see the study that like some 37% of people actually don't have an inner voice?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, no.
37%.
It's like I don't know if it's 37% specifically, but it's like.
I mean, any percent that's
let me look it up.
More than like 5, I would be surprised. Because I feel like the whole concept of talking to yourself is your inner voice.
Yeah.
So here's something I'll say about that. I definitely like will think to myself or talk to myself sometimes when I'm like thinking through something. But when I'm not verbalizing it, it doesn't necessarily have like a tone. Yeah. It's just like words in my head. To me, I don't know if that's just me, but like.
I mean, it's not like, I think like as I understood this article, I'm looking up the condition now, but like I'll get into it after the podcast. But like, I think it's people who don't even, because that's exactly what thinking is like for me too. Like there's like ideas and thoughts, but it's not the same as like words.
Yeah.
I think like there are people who don't even take it that step.
Damn.
Yeah. It's heavily correlated with like people who like go into like tech and like finance and stuff. It's very interesting.
I can understand, honestly, because like I know there's also like a thing somewhat along the same topic where like if you tell people to picture an apple, like they legitimately cannot picture an apple in their head.
Yeah, yeah. Movie magic. Anyway, Jasper.
Yes.
All right. Keep it rolling. So yeah, I mean, it's an album that's like emotionally impactful to all of us, and I think it's another one of those things where I feel like I'm very into like critical thought, if you can't guess. And I feel like people are like very resistant to putting things they like under the microscope and being very critical with it.
Yep.
And I think it's a shame because I think this is a great example of like that makes it better, not worse.
Yeah.
Like I think like Man on the Moon, I think is a great example of something that a lot of people are nostalgic for. And like if you put it through its rigor, you actually think about it, you engage with it, it's just as, if not more, rewarding, I would say. And I do think like there is something I want to like just say about this album that I thought was very interesting, and this definitely has to do with like the kind of people I was interacting with. Was I did dislike how Cudi's very brutal, like very honest and very like of the heart like songwriting on this album. I felt like almost was like unfairly used against the hip hop community a little bit, because like people,
interesting.
Well, because like there were people
it's actually something that I was going to touch about.
Yeah, because like I've seen millions of posts that were like, I only listen to Eminem and Kid Cudi because they talk about real shit, and like the amount of time I've seen Kid Cudi like wrapped up in this like gatekeeping from outside the culture that happens so often with hip hop. Like,
wow, I'm gonna be honest. I thought you were gonna take that the opposite way.
What?
Like people who are like old heads saying like, "Get this talking about feeling shit out of here." I want to hear about blunts, 40s, and bitches.
I never heard that much about it. I'm certain. Like every time a young guy comes around and like legitimately does things differently, the old heads get mad. And I can't imagine that didn't happen with Kid Cudi, but I don't remember it.
Honestly, I think he got attacked by both sides, and that kind of comes with the nature of like being a leader. I've heard both sides.
Being a leader in this day and age is being a threat. Yeah. Not many people stood up against the or whatever.
Stop it.
That's it. We're doing Kid Cudi next week for the trial.
But until the end of the first 10 years into the millennium, we heard a voice.
Yeah.
Perfectly fitting.
There's your thumbnail, by the way.
Yeah, that's the thumbnail. I know exactly where to go. I'll send it to you.
There you go.
If you've noticed better thumbnails, it's because Jasper does them now. But yeah,
I mean, honestly though, I feel like he's getting attacked by both sides.
So, granted, I didn't know many like old heads at the time. I knew people who were probably like Isaac's age. Like those are like my my mentors at my Kid Cudi stage were like people who were really into hip hop and like 4 or 5 years older than me. And like I just never heard that. I don't doubt that it happens.
I feel like the approach that some people would take to be against him in terms of like being different. And I know Jasper's gonna hate me for even somewhat comparing them, but some of these same things that they both faced, Drake and Kid Cudi got attacked for certain subjects for being too soft.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And certain subjects just you don't really hear in hip hop. And let's be honest here, black males in terms of statistics are the least likely to go get therapy.
Yeah, no.
Let's be honest.
No, that's fact.
If we're consuming music and our culture isn't really based on mental health, or having Kid Cudi come in and like drop this bombshell on the culture and be successful, he did receive some flack for that.
I'm starting. So here's the thing. I've made a big development while you were saying that, because like my immediate thing was like I'm certain that happened, but I think what may have mitigated it and maybe made it not as bad as Drake was like Kid Cudi got co-signed by like really popular people really early in his career. Like
he was producing for Jay-Z for Blueprint 3.
Yeah.
But like the example I went to was Snoop Dogg. But then I realized Kid Cudi also kind of had a chokehold on stoner culture at the time, and I think
that is also very true.
Yeah.
So I have beef with this topic. So you took it the other way with gatekeeping. I take it the way of this immediately became that, and in many ways it does feed into that. But this is an album about so much more. And I think there was a whole swath of people in culture who just kind of sought to make this like a very two-dimensional work. Basically like a party album almost in a lot of ways, just because of certain songs and like singles off of it.
Yeah.
And I don't think it gets the credit for it. So like my perfect example of this was like, I think I was freshman year of college and I went to a party at a friend's apartment. I was driving back up north and I was staying with my parents at the time because it was like summer. And this girl who was like a friend of a friend lived near me, so I like dropped her off as well. And we got in the car and Man on the Moon came on, and she's like, she knew I didn't smoke. I don't smoke, and she's like, "Wow, you like a lot of stoner music for someone who doesn't smoke." And I was like,
This is
Things are not as they appear.
Yeah.
Okay, Julia. Like, no, I'm playing.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that. That's something that he's just gonna have to face in terms of his entire discography.
Yeah.
Anything psychedelic.
Totally.
Obviously, I don't want to say he passed the torch because he's still doing things, but like very naturally, Travis Scott enters the phase, and now he is the stoner music.
Yeah.
And it's a very similar kind of style of music. So I just feel like it kind of comes with the territory.
I definitely think
the feeling is definitely there.
Yeah.
But I think to reduce the art because you're trying to shoehorn it into a culture that you prescribe to is unproductive.
I definitely agree that that's unproductive. That is absolutely just unfair to the art, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me that feels very outside looking in though. Like to me, everyone
sure.
I know who was a stoner has nothing but love and appreciation for this album as like a deep work of art. And like it was kind of the people on the fringes of it who kind of saw it that way in my experience.
I agree, but I also think that it's very much the idea that you can appreciate something but not be able to appreciate it for all of its facets because you really relate to one. I think there's just like some inherent bias that comes with that territory. And in the circles that I traveled at the time when that was popular, like probably like 2016, 17, like that was definitely a theme, even for an album that at the time was almost, 10 years old.
Yeah.
It was like you had people who were blinded by their own like wants and their own kind of like lifestyle choices in a way. Not to say there's anything wrong with that. Just I feel like it kept them from engaging the work in a more critical and like a more
unpack
overall
that a little
way.
bit for me because I'm just having trouble understanding.
Yeah, like I guess people who prescribe very much to a certain identity associated with their consumption. So, and that's like kind of what we do as consumers, right? We live vicariously through our consumption. We use it to define who we are as individuals. And there were people who I, spent time with and things like that who were very much allowed themselves to be defined by the drugs they did and the people they associated with and the music they listened to and things like that. And I think that specifically like in the context of this group of people who I knew, and I'm not saying this is true for everybody, but I think it's like this is a kind of a common pitfall. I've seen it with my little brother too. It's like the community that you are with, if they engage too enthusiastically with something, it very much becomes like you're seeing the world through the lens of that thing. And in many ways I think that this art is diminished in that way when people like try and engage it through like the lens of strictly stoner culture if they're like taking it too far. And that was like my experience with it as like early college.
Yeah, and I think there's something we're really going to agree with because when you said like, oh, people make like the substances they consume part of their identity, right? And to me, like that's the immediate disconnect that we agree on because I think as much as that marijuana specifically plays like a role in like Kid Cudi's story, specifically on this album.
Yeah.
I don't think at any point is he making it part of his identity. Like, I think it's a part of his lifestyle, and like, but
that'd be a byproduct or something.
Like, yeah, because whenever you make anything part of your identity, it's just going to like create bias. And, my
exactly.
And my philosophy on bias is like, there is no such thing as an unbiased person. There's no such thing as like unbiased like art or communication. So it's best to just be honest about your biases and not try and claim neutrality because that's an impossible standard. And
try and be aware of them.
Yeah, just try and be aware. And like, look, my ADHD and my habits just make me constantly self-aware. So it's like, so yeah, like I definitely think that's interesting because that's definitely a disconnect. I think that part, like being in that part of it, could keep you from fully engaging with this piece. I really do.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of art, especially in hip hop, that's diminished for that reason. I mean, you look at, and this is gonna make me sound old, but you look at like the connection people just a few years younger than us have to someone like Juice WRLD, and it's like, what percentage of that is attributed to his genuine discussion of the issues he faces as like a young person growing up in a contemporary society with struggling with substance abuse versus like, oh, it's relatable because, pills or like something like that, where it's like you may share some kind of consumption habit with an artist, but you're allowing that to define your listening experience as opposed to listening to, or like not listening to, but as opposed to taking it in for what it is. And that's just an example. I'm not saying it's valid, but like I feel like that happens a lot in cultures that kind of promote or glorify different kinds of consumption habits of whether it's drugs or anything else in excess.
Yeah.
And it's like it happens in rock music and metal and yada yada yada.
Right.
So
That's actually what I was going to bring up because it does expand past just hip hop, like you just mentioned, rock music.
There's a
I
really
feel
famous
like
documentary about it where like they're interviewing a rock star, and like he's taking the interview. I forget who it is. He was I think it was like the guy from Rat or like some band that was super big in like the party metal scene of the 80s. Right?
Yeah, like right around like the hair metal shit.
The hair metal shit, right? And he's taking the interview in like a floating chair, like in his pool, and he's drinking like a handle of vodka. And like he answers a question and like he starts drinking. And you think he's gonna stop, and like he just never does.
Right.
And it was like at that moment, like it went from like, oh, this is like real fun and it's a party, to like this is sad.
A threat.
That was the moment that killed hair metal, and then grunge came, and like I don't know specifically, but like it's emblematic of like the moment that killed hair metal. And I think
about. Sorry, go ahead.
I think there's and I definitely think there's a similar phenomenon like going on in hip hop. I think there's also like an undercurrent of like, I think the communities that like make hip hop are also the most affected by like the opioid epidemic and like other
just drug abuse in general,
self-medicating and like drug abuse as the result of like systemic failures and injustices.
The song "Swimming Pools" exists for a reason.
Yeah, like swimming pool. Oh god!
And even that song within itself is played as a party anthem that you.
And that look at "Pursuit of Happiness."
Yeah,
it's called "Pursuit of Happiness" (parentheses nightmare) because it's about him having a nightmare where he's doing things that he wants to do, but he knows he shouldn't be doing them.
Yeah, I just feel like that song is a little too anthemic for that to be so ironic.
It's just,
but yeah, no, you're right.
It's tough to say this because obviously the worst parts of every community will amplify it. You're gonna have skater people where it's like, okay, you're doing too much. It looks weird, bro. Or like you're gonna have certain rap people just like, okay, you're doing too much. Yeah. I feel like that within itself is an issue within the community. I feel like whatever it surrounds itself in, each individual is responsible for their own actions. But like, I don't think it limits Kid Cudi in any sense.
No,
I don't take away anything from the album. The fact that it is now known as a smoking album, because in reality, a lot of people spoke to it.
I think it was. I don't think it is anymore. I think now it's
that's like, also fair.
Yeah, I think like at the time, like that was the circles where this album got a lot of play. Like I know that's where my circles played this album a lot, but I think that is just something that has moved on. I think like I don't know if I would call this like a very much an underrated album. I think it gets the flowers it deserves.
Right.
And I think that phenomenon definitely happens, but I'm willing to bet it mostly passed.
I don't think this album comes up in popular culture and just in popular discussion as much as it should in a lot of ways. But I think that it's kind of in that awkward phase of being not quite old enough to be a classic for some people, whereas like for other people, it's been a classic persistently. Yeah. I think about like kind of the resurgence College Dropout has had over the past like couple of years. I feel like that's gained a lot more like mainstream attention again than it had like when I was in high school, for example. And I think that that's going to happen to this album as well. So like there may be kind of that effect as well, where it's like it's going to stick around and it's going to come back even more so. Also, I realized the reason I thought of Juice WRLD for that example was because of that interview with Future, where he describes meeting Juice WRLD for the first time and actually kind of recognizing the sort of the consequences of his his career or like the effects of his career on young people.
Yeah.
And that's a super compelling like interview, a good read.
Yeah.
But their collaborative project was called World on Drugs, and the
every
cover.
song was
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
The album was good in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
It's a good album, but it's
I
like
also-
you think about the subject matter. It's like
I also do think it's worth pointing a distinction between like the kind of
For sure.
drugs Kid Cudi is talking about
definitely
and the kind of drugs, yeah, like
that Juice WRLD died from.
even if like the safer one certainly has its extremes and like the way it can change your perceptions, I think we really as a culture need to avoid equivocating those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I don't even think marijuana is as bad as liquor. Like I think
it's not. I mean,
the science
physiologically, it's not.
Yeah, the science is pretty settled on that. Like,
Mhm.
but yeah. Anyway, so let's rank these songs.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Let's
I'm
rank
gonna
these
pull
songs.
up a.
Oh yeah, I gotta share my screen. Hold on, guys. If there's an edit right now, I'm sorry. Oh, this is good.
All right,
This
so
is a
we've
good-
got
this is a good tier list.
little tier list going on here. We've got, instead of the traditional S tier, A tier, B, C, D, E, F, so on, we have a certified classic category for individual songs. We've got great listen. That's like, wow, that stuck with me. I really enjoyed that. This is something that I'm like going to come back to regularly. We got bump, like you play it in the car, you enjoy it, you like it, but it's not like it really stands out to you. Talk over it in the car, just kind of like it's background music, and then a skip. So these are going to be our tiers for today, and we'll just go in order. I think we can just go through each one, kind of dissect the song, how we feel about it, and if we don't agree, maybe we come to a compromise, or if we are all unanimous, we put it in the category.
No, we're gonna, yeah. But I love that idea. In my dreams, guys.
So we do have to agree. Okay.
No, we don't have to agree. So like if you
agreement.
No, I like the idea that we have to come to a compromise. In
Fair,
my dreams, skip. Like,
skip.
Oh,
okay,
skip.
Really?
no. Here's the thing. Critically looking at the album, just critically looking at it, I think it works wonderfully as an intro. It really does.
Especially this type of album, it does not need a hard introduction. It doesn't.
Yeah, no. I think this is the right intro for it. But I'm compelled to say skip because I got to be honest with you. I have skipped this 10 times as often as I've listened to it.
I listen to this all the way through every time because everything turns out dope.
So I'm curious. I'm curious because I think this is also a good way to look into it.
Yeah.
Do not think about it like you're listening to the album. Just think about you're actually listening to the song by itself. I think that's more fair because if I'm playing a song by itself, I will not be playing In My Dreams.
Like if In My Dreams came up on a shuffled playlist,
I would be skipping it.
That's my thing.
I would say in that case, I would say it's a talk over it in the car because it's just kind of like low key. It's there. So I guess
that's the thing though. Like that as an option isn't bad though. But I think
I would say
it's got to think about the rest of what we got to go through.
If I'm outvoted on this one, I'd say we put it towards the top of skip because it's like it's approaching that.
Cool.
And it's kind of like it's in the middle. That's fair.
Okay.
Next up, I got 99 Problems, and they all bitches.
What's there to say? What is there to say?
Okay, it's classic. It's a classic.
What is there to say? No, we got to talk about the song. It's a classic. Like, put it up there. But like, we gotta. But like, here's the thing, though.
Get out of my sight.
But like, no, you put it in the right spot. But the thing is, like,
why is it a classic?
We have to talk about it, otherwise the podcast is going to be very short this week. Like, because I feel like the certified classic thing is going to be overly represented. But yeah, no, Soundtrack to My Life I think is just it is possibly the greatest like emblematic song. Like it represents the entire rest of the album.
It does.
Right?
It is. I would say Soundtrack to My Life did first what fucking Gorgeous did a year later.
Ooh, yeah, it's a very good. Yeah, because like there's the intro. The only thing is that the intro to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy I feel like is more of a song. I definitely don't skip that sometimes.
Definitely. I'm not equating them in that way. I just mean in the sense that like it sets the tone for the album and also perfectly delivers like a microcosm of what it is to be alive and within the culture at that time.
And it's also like, fuck, man. Talk about an album. Talk about a song that has stood the test of time.
Yes.
Like 5 a.m. Summer Night.
Yeah.
It's just such a dope concept.
Dude,
just in general. Everything about this song.
And it was interpolated into like one of my favorite songs by another classic artist from this era, Hands on the Wheel.
Yeah. That's very true.
Ignorance is love, and I need that shit.
Yeah.
I need that on a shirt.
I would love that. I love that. I want that on a shirt as well. I'll call a designer.
I will make it on Redbubble.
I'll be calling a designer.
All right.
I think that settles that.
Yeah, no, soundtrack. That's the thing. I feel like there's going to be a lot of these that are like, are they a classic or are they a great listen?
That's true. This one, I think this is a top 3 song in streaming. This is a top 3 song partially. It's a top 3 song like listened and researched. I think it's fair to be like, this is a certified classic.
Yeah, simple as
Robotics. Try it on.
Simple as I definitely. I feel like I'm leaning a little bit more close. Great listen, but I am not offended by the idea of it as a certified classic one bit.
I would also agree with great listen overall, just because this song, I think, in terms of the sound of the rest of the album, is actually a bit of an outlier. Obviously, we're evaluating these by themselves, but when I think of this album and I think about like the sound of Man on the Moon, I don't think of this song.
Yeah,
it's got the strings. But other than that,
it doesn't have the weight. It feels like a Kid Named Cudi song with better production.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. I think that's the ultimate argument for great listen, because it is a great song. Like, this is a great example of a song that shows up on shuffle and I never skip.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, I guess that's a great argument. So
I'm just gonna save us some time on this one.
Ooh, is it though?
I personally will put it as a classic.
Yes, it's a classic.
Yeah, it is.
Why must it feel so wrong, Brandon, when I try and do right?
My only thing is, right. I don't know if it's my favorite of the Solo Dolo franchise series.
I know, and you're a cretin for saying that.
I like this one more.
Really? Because I love the one with Kendrick.
I do not like that one.
That is tough.
And
that's tough. I mean,
and the weird psychedelic Red Dead Redemption one on Man in the Moon 3.
Solo Dolo Part 3 is I like that one. I do not like the one on Indie Cut. I'm
sorry. God, I love the one.
It's got like this weird, like frantic, nervous energy to it that is not. I just don't associate it with this. That is song collection.
That's what I associate with Indie Cut, though, and I feel like that's the priority.
If it's
for sure, but then maybe it shouldn't have been Solo Dolo. Maybe it should have been something else.
Well, yeah, but you gotta let Kid Cudi be Kid Cudi.
I know.
It's tough because
the
thing is.
Once again, I'm not offended by it being a classic. That's just my thing, is that I think it's my middle tier Solo Dolo song, and I think that's worth pointing out. But if we're going to make it a classic, we're going to make it a classic.
That is fair. I just feel like when I listen to Solo Dolo and I think about like series, after I've grown into like Company 1, 2, 3, I've learned to like realize all of them will be so different.
Yeah.
Like all the solos are so different. All the companies are so different. It's intentional.
Yeah. And that's the point, you know, like you can't do the Metallica thing and just do the song in reverse.
One other thing I did want to mention, I just realized I don't think we give it enough credit as a song. In My Dreams, it gave us that classic Kid Cudi 4 notes. That is true. That's like from that. So that's kind of a cool thing. But,
that is true. I'll give you that.
Okay. All right. So this is going to be
I'm going to put Solo Dolo. I'm going to put Solo Dolo a little down, like it's towards the bottom of certified classic. Like it could go in between.
Okay.
I think that's
for sure.
Okay, that's a compromise I'm willing to take. Heart of a Lion is a classic.
I like Heart of a Lion a lot.
It's hard to argue with you.
Heart of a Lion is a top 3 song on this album for me, including my favorite song of all time. It might be my second favorite song on the album.
I would agree with you. Yeah, I would say this goes squarely in the middle of certified.
Heart of a Lion is one of my favorite Kid Cudi songs. I'm upset I'm not listening to it right now.
We're gonna put it right there.
You should do it like left to right, like you're reading.
Oh yeah, that could work.
No.
Like this?
Yeah, and then like if we get all the way to the end, you can put it down to the next one, and then you have all that more room.
True.
Okay.
Ooh, My World.
This will be my world. Underrated, I think, personally. I don't think it's a classic, but I think it's like it could go in between Bump and Great Listen. But I think it's an underrated song.
I'm between Bump and Good Listen.
I'm
more towards Bump.
Yeah,
I'm towards Bump too.
Yeah, I'm more towards Bump too. I don't know how underrated it is because I do think it's a really good song, and I think people give it the credit for being a really good song, but like look at the rest of the album.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't hear this. I don't think you would hear this song mentioned in discussion of why people like the album either.
Yeah,
which is like why I think it might be a little underrated because it's like it's a solid. It's not filler in any way.
And something I do want to give credit is I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, but I'm like pretty sure this is one of those songs that was floating around YouTube before the album came out.
Yeah,
and it, unlike Simple As, which I think I might like more, but unlike Simple As, this one does have the Man on the Moon sound.
Yes. It does.
So I definitely am happy giving it a bump, but yeah, I was thinking like right there on that border.
Need I say more?
Yeah, need I say more? My favorite song of all time. It is. I don't think I've listened to any song more than this one. Besides,
one thing we didn't really talk about yet that I think we're going to talk about after we do the tier list is like after we look at the tier list and where we put everything is just impact on the industry and everything else. But I want to go into this real quick because
go ahead.
This song came out 2 years before the album, and it debuted on MySpace.
Yeah, and it was on A Kid Named Cudi
a long time ago.
Yeah, so, you know, Soulja Boy takes a lot of credit for being the first to do a lot of shit. Cudi was the first rapper to, I think, really
Jasper
use the internet in a way that made him compared to,
he was the first critical artist to really use the internet to his advantage. I'll say that. Like Soulja Boy,
that's sure.
Soulja Boy was
like the viral.
Yeah, he was a meme.
Yeah, the viral sensation thing, sure, but to become an actual like serious artist who's taken seriously and who gets like radio play and accolades and cosigns is something that nobody had done before this. Like this was a moment for that reason. I think it's really important to point that out.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. Like it was I'm struggling to think if there was maybe someone earlier than him. I don't think there was. Like
there wasn't.
Yeah.
He was really the first to do it. I mean, 2007 it was getting traction on MySpace, and then he toured Australia before he had like a full record deal.
Yeah. And like because the only artist I can think of that I think gives Kid Cudi that give Kid Cudi a run for his money as far as like utilizing the internet in its early days were absolutely after him, and they were Mac Miller and The Weeknd.
Yeah. And like even like early Gambino to an extent.
You know what's super funny? If you get a chance, I'll put the SoundCloud link in the Discord. If you find the original mix of The Weeknd's The Morning, he's very clearly ripping off Kid Cudi. It is so hilarious.
That doesn't surprise me.
And I think it's I think the version we got is better, but I think it's a great version. It's fantastic, but it is very clearly biting Kid Cudi very hard, which is hilarious because like when you actually, I think like when you look at Trilogy, I don't see it at all, but that song I do.
I think that's enough said about Day and Night. Sky Might Fall.
Ooh, I'm feeling a very, very strong great listen.
My mom really likes this song.
I remember this was in a Transformers trailer.
I introduced both of my parents. That's fitting. I introduced both of my parents to rap kind of through Kid Cudi because he was a bit of a compromise compared to like somebody just going hard on the mic, where it's like there are elements of other genres in this, and they both like really got into him. And my mom uses it. My mom teaches fitness, and she uses his stuff, like some of his stuff in her classes as like music for the classes. And this is one of the songs that's like on rotation for her.
I can get that.
Shout out, Mom.
Personally, for me, Sky Might Fall. It's a low great listen.
I could see that. I think that's valid
for me.
I'm willing to compromise and go low great listen. To me, I really like Sky Might Fall. There was a period where it was probably one of my favorites on the album, but yeah, no, I really like it.
I gotta say, I'm going back to my prior format because to me, this delineates like where they fall.
Needs
Like
to
this
put
is
them up
like
top.
Yeah.
high certified classic versus like possibly certified versus great listen. So
Yeah.
like
For sure.
I think we're kind of stratifying it a little bit.
Yeah. You could also, if
And-
you have room, you could just pull down.
True. Intergalactic.
This is a song that's interesting because, like, when this album came out, this was probably the one song I didn't like off of it. There was 2 songs I didn't like of this album when it came out, and it was this one and a different one. And unlike the other one, I have warmed up on this one a lot. So I'm thinking a strong bump.
I would say this is a bump.
I was really about to say, yeah, a bump.
Yeah.
Personally, I am very much not a fan of like horny Kid Cudi.
Yeah, no, he doesn't do it well. What's that song on?
He's got a lot of bad ones. He
has one on Kid Named Cudi that's just not
Pillow Talk.
Pillow Talk. Pillow Talk is
Pillow
brutal.
Talk definitely was one.
Pillow Talk, and then there's one more that's like right there with it.
Although there is a very good horny Kid Cudi song coming up though. So
there is. That's fair. But it's different. It's not trying, and that's what's nice about this one. This one's still like a bop.
Yeah.
When he does like his slow ones, that's when it's like you lost me a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
I think that's totally fair.
And he's got him on what Balmain Jeans off of
yeah, that's like the
Satellite Flight.
That's the only song on that album I like.
Really?
It's the only one.
Because I put that in the same category of like, damn, it's like slow, it's horny, it's like,
I get it.
I like this.
I get it. I feel like it works for that song.
True. There's a lot of effect going on in that song. There's a lot of reverb. Yeah. And then he's got what is it? There's one off of Passion Pain. It's right before The Guide. It's Lying. What the hell is it called? It's like the dialogue between a guy and a girl, whatever.
I'm not gonna lie. The more that we talk about this, I might move it down to talk over it in the car. I'm so serious. Because like it's a decent song, but like I think this is the most disconnected from the rest of the album.
It's very dancey.
It does not fit in any sense or any of the topics in what you hear in Man in the Moon.
Ooh, I disagree. I think lyrically it fits very well within the topics of Man in the Moon, but aesthetically I agree with you.
Right. It does not fit.
Yeah, aesthetically I agree with you 100%.
I like the idea that My World is he's saying like one day this is going to be mine, and then Intergalactic is him being like, yeah, I'm like life is okay. You know, it's like kind of like that. He's like enjoying life. Alive. Total tonal shift. I don't think Intergalactic should be between these two if you look at them in series, because you look at what Alive is about versus like My World, and those two feel like very connected. So Intergalactic is like, I don't know, out of place.
I love this song.
Yeah. The chorus is
one of the best choruses. It's the chorus.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's the chorus that carries it.
Yeah.
Not to say the rest of the song isn't good, but the chorus is the way.
I love it. I love dark and creepy Kid Cudi. Like he has this one song he did for this really bad movie called No One Believes Me.
Oh, I know that song.
Yeah, I figured. And and it's really good. I love dark creepy Kid Cudi. This is I feel like this is like a Dracula laugh away from a novelty song, but like in a good way.
I have a playlist that I use when I go running at night. It's called Evil Shit.
Yeah. And
it's basically this is on it, and it's stuff like this and like really like heavy stuff from Owl Pharaoh and like What's Good from like Igor, where it's like heavy evil shit. I love it a lot. 5% Tint is on there for sounding as devious as it is.
I have the same playlist. Mine's called Nocturnal Vibes.
Yes.
And it has After Hours, House of Balloons.
There's something wrong with this. Like
Chanel.
I'm never gonna say the name.
Can't wait to see the YouTube comments like 10 out of 10 podcasts. Y'all need medication.
Yep.
I'm on too much. Like,
all right, where are we putting Alive?
It's clearly a classic. I would put it right in the middle between the creme de la creme and the solo dolo. Like,
oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like it's like a strong classic, a mid like a firm classic, and then like on the border.
Yeah,
And we're gonna need
the guitar on this one, man.
so good.
Fuck.
I love it. And that was something I think what made it really easy for me to transition from being someone who listened to a lot of like punk and heavy metal to hip hop was like the really awesome instrumentation all over this album.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Cudi Zone.
Just
In
it's
my
zone. This is a classic.
Like,
this is a classic. This is creme de la
Absolute
creme.
Can I tell you?
classic.
Can I tell you what I love about this one?
Sure.
I love. To me, this feels like a false ending. It feels like an
Interesting.
ending track, and it's
Does
like
it?
It actually does feel like an ending track.
you think the album is wrapping up. I'm feeling all right, and then it's like, oh, psych, there's more.
Yeah. No, I think this is
Classic.
classic.
This is like
Easy.
this
No,
is premium.
tippity top classic.
Classic.
This is like the definition.
I mean, I don't know about all that. I
like,
just mean like equivalent with soundtrack to my life. Like,
Yeah.
but
it's
like
too much. So many slices.
too many slices, too many
Thanks,
classics. Like,
It's enough slices.
there's so many classics on this album.
I feel like what you need out of Kid Cudi and what he does better than everyone is the humming and the oohs, and this is like the perfect song.
Yeah,
for
no,
both
this
of us.
is Kid. This and I feel like you can get like all of Kid Cudi between this and soundtrack to my life.
That is very fair. I just
That is
feel
like,
like the fan base and what we like out of Kid Cudi, there's two things that like always stick to me. It's just like, oh, like J. Cole fan base thinks they're like too high class, and then it's like Kid Cudi fan base just humming. You just need humming.
Yeah.
This is exactly what you need.
God, I love Kid
So
Cudi.
good.
Dude, I remember I got so mad because I feel like the idea of like the Man on the Moon is like so synonymous with Kid Cudi that when I saw a song called Man on the Moon on the Brockhampton album that came out last year, I was
Are
just
we getting a feature?
I was waiting for the hums. And like it's a low-key one of my favorite songs from last year. It is. I'm like waiting for it. It would have been a good collab, but no, didn't happen. Very disappointed.
Nothing. Yeah,
Kid
no.
Cudi is definitely one of my favorite artists when it comes to creeping on like a track, where it's like you know a feature's coming up and you can just hear him kind of like ad-libbing in the background. Like Travis is very clear when it's him on one doing
it.
it.
Makes everything sound like rodeo.
It's lit.
Like,
But
dude, as soon as he was on SZA's album, like the second it
Yeah.
starts, like, oh yeah, Travis Scott is on his song.
Yeah.
but like Cudi does it in a way that's like more subtle, but like if you're listening for it or like you know it's coming. And the good example of that I really like is he's on Through the Late Night, right?
Yeah.
With Travis. The song before that off of Birds in the Trap, he's there. He's making noise. But he's not singing or he's like vocalizing, but there's no lyrics. So it's like if you know he's there, he's like contributing something, but it's like subtle, and I like that.
Okay, so I gotta ask a question, and you guys can feel free to either agree with me or tell me I smoke too much weed. Does anyone else think Through the Late Night kind of feels like a sequel to Day and Night?
That's the whole point.
Yes.
Right? Like if
Travis Scott
on
says
purpose,
the
like,
words
literally.
day
Yeah,
and night.
I get it, but like I meant throughout the entire song. Like
Yeah, totally.
okay.
I mean, he was always
song also.
he was always influenced, and he said himself, without Kid Cudi, there would be no Travis Scott. So
Yeah,
it's definitely like an
Ranger
homage.
touch.
He's really worn that influence on his sleeve.
Yeah, respect.
Yeah, no, I definitely respect people who make it clear where they get their ideas.
Make her say.
Make her say.
Oh.
I don't know about. It's a classic. No, it's a classic. It's a classic.
Born in '88. How old is that?
Old enough.
Old enough?
Which is like kind of crazy because like that girl was still 24 when this song came out. Like,
Yeah,
like-
she's old enough.
Kanye is very respectful. Let's put
of
it
ages and only that.
and
Like,
only that. Yeah.
of age and consent laws and only that. Like,
I got seniority with the sorority.
yeah. So like, I don't know, man. This song is good, and that Lady Gaga, like, is that a sample, an interpolation, or did she do that?
I think it's an interpolation.
Yeah. Jamie Foxx is on that song.
Yeah.
He is?
He is a writing credit.
I don't even know that.
I gotta say also
Better than
Yeah.
Erase Me. Sorry, just going to say that.
Did you say it's better than Erase Me?
In my opinion, it's better than Erase Me. I don't really like Erase Me.
I don't know how you could equate the two.
Yeah, I don't see how you equate the two. I agree, but I also love Erase Me.
I gotta say, thoughts with Jamie Foxx. Apparently, he's been in the hospital for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea, dude. Jamie Foxx is a real one. I love Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, get well
He's been in the
Jamie.
hospital for a while.
If you're obviously very much definitely listening to this, get well soon.
And also make a movie with me. Like,
oh, there you go. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna do it.
This is one of the ones that we really need to discuss. This.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not even on the thing.
I ain't gotta say shit.
Yeah, no.
It's like it's above the chart. It doesn't even have a label.
Well,
Pursuit of Happiness at the top. Refuse to elaborate.
I will. Well, here's the thing. Like, on one end, like, I totally agree. Pursuit of Happiness is a tippity top tier song on this album. I have no problem with that placement. I will say this, though. If that song is supposed to, like, I know it's like called Nightmare and everything, but like, I don't know. Like, I never really got the irony in it. I don't think it's as successful at that as Swimming Pools is.
Well,
like, I just never.
The idea is that it's the whole idea, and I've like heard him talk about it. It's written from the perspective of like you're in a dream where you are not lucid dreaming, so it's like you do not have control of it. It's like you don't necessarily you wake up from a dream and you're like, I didn't like that kind of feeling where it's like driving drunk, I'm doing my thing. People told me to slow my roll, I'm saying fuck that. It's like he's living recklessly in like a dream state where he's not in control, and then he's like, the song is not him coming to terms with the consequences of thinking or feeling that way. It just is him like in that stream of consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah, like I get, like, I'm on the Wikipedia article for it right now. I'm sorry for being a lame. But like I get that that's like the whole point of it, but it to me I just never I can never get past the amazing performances on it.
Guess what?
The same
he agrees with you.
Yeah.
Because he actually said it. So I'm gonna say, anybody listening to this, watch A Man Named Scott, the documentary on I think it's on Amazon. It's about his like career, early to mid career. And he discusses the song, and he says, you know, for a long time he didn't like playing it because it was like a dark place for him. But then he kind of came around on the idea that his fans kind of used it as like an anthem. And now he plays it at every show, regardless, because and even if it's a Steve Aoki version, because he just like, he understands what it means to people in a different way than he originally intended. So like, he's kind of compromised on like the original artistic vision and letting people have their feelings about it.
I mean,
which I think is kind of cool.
Hell yeah. And he's played it at every show. I've seen him twice, and he's played it at every show I've seen.
He plays it at every show.
Yeah, he does.
So like, hey, good on him. And I'm not a big Steve Aoki fan, but I like his remix of this album.
Me too.
Yeah. And yeah, that's just my one thing, is that to me, it's not like Swimming Pools, where the second I think about it a little bit, I'm like, oh shit, I know what this is actually about.
Yeah.
To me, I just get so caught up in like the evocative imagery and the amazing production by MGMT, who were another like route into this album for me, because I was a fan of MGMT at the time. And yeah,
no, I get that.
Yeah, so
I feel like there's certain songs that Kid Cudi is able to create where the emotional factor plays into it, because like this is a song you could actually cry to. Like he has a few songs you could legitimately cry to. This would be a song you could cry to, which like just puts it an extra step above. Yeah,
but yeah, no, I got no problem with it in its position right now. I just wanted to bring that up because like until this very moment, I was almost completely unaware of it. Ooh,
who wants to go higher?
Higher?
Can we get higher?
I'm gonna put this at talk over it in the car.
I was really about to say, because the thing is, it's not a bop; it's a slower song.
I would put it at a bump personally. When this comes on, I'm vibing. This is like
a low bump.
I go like this when it comes on. I go like this.
This was when I said like Intergalactic was the song where it was like, oh, I didn't like it when it came out, and like it's grown on me. This was the one that didn't. Like,
I see.
Yeah, and Look, low bump is not something I'm offended by. That is a compromise I'm happy to make. But to me, it is distinctly talk over it in the car, and I would even put it maybe one step below Intergalactic. But we're compromising here, so I can compromise that.
I would put it in the middle somewhere.
I would put it in the middle.
Okay.
One thing that never fails to amuse me about this song is they were high as shit when they wrote this because.
Well, obviously.
The opening, he says, "Easy Sunday morning. We right here on a beautiful morning.
I do love
Grass
that.
is frosty. Kids are going to school.
Yeah.
And it's a Sunday morning. You sure?
Could be Sunday school.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, definitely.
Cleveland's super Catholic.
Could be Sunday school.
Maybe.
And also,
I don't know.
Also, I don't want.
It's never been confirmed.
I don't want to burst your bubble here, but I'm certain they were high writing this whole album.
I know.
His entire career.
Sure.
Not his entire career. He had a few sober albums. Indica
he did have some sober,
and it was good. So, and I will defend that point.
Now, when the sun comes up,
up and away.
Outro.
I'll be there to say what up in the morning.
Okay, so I put this as a bump.
Interesting. Okay.
So I definitely remember when this song came out. Like I had heard this song like through school and everything, and then like right after high school, like after living with this album for like a year, right? I reconnected with an old family friend, and he was a huge Kid Cudi fan, and like he was like one of those gatekeeping motherfuckers who like, is always the bigger fan than anyone else in the room, and like this was the one where he's like, nah, real Kid Cudi fans hate this fucking song. So,
interesting.
And like that was my first experience with it, but it was not my only one where like, oh, like the hardcore fans of his when this album came out thought this was him selling out. I don't agree with that per se, but I do think it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if I think it's an amazing song. I think his live renditions of it are incredible, but I don't know if it's as good as all the songs above it. I might put it above My World, but I don't know about all the other ones.
I think it's a fitting end to the album. I don't think there's anything about it that is like stands out in an unpleasant way for me. It leaves off on exactly the note that I think is trying to be communicated through the narrative, right? Where it's like he's continuing on and he's like looking to like find himself in a sense, or to find out what his purpose is.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
I think that's like a nice way to like conclude it.
Yeah, it's just like
it's a good period, I would say, to the rest of the album.
I'm actually gonna use. Yeah, I mean, like I think it's a good closer. I just don't know if it's just like the strongest closer in the world. But yeah,
for sure. Sure.
And I do think, because you brought it up earlier, now that I'm thinking about it again, I think I'm coming to this position. You said Cudi Zone feels like a false ending. Yeah. And I think without a song like that, this would be very disappointing. But I do give it leeway because we do have like those, because I feel like this album calls for like a very epic conclusion. But we have those songs throughout the album, so I guess I'm a lot more lenient on this one not being that, if that makes sense.
That's fair.
Okay.
So where are we putting this?
I consider it a bump. Like I'm not like hyped when I listen to it, but it's like I enjoy it a lot.
I say bump. Purvis?
Solid bump.
I'm good with it.
Yeah,
honestly.
I say bump. Yeah, 100%.
All right, now we get to the bonus tracks.
Are we doing them all in one as a batch?
No, I'm just
no.
Okay. Like,
no, we got things to talk about here.
I was literally about to say, I feel like this is where we're gonna get the most conflict.
Yeah, this is probably gonna be the most conflict.
Because for me, when I think Kid Cudi, I think of Man on the Moon. It's literally the title track. I know it wasn't originally on it, but this is a classic for me.
Yeah,
this is like the definition for me to Kid Cudi.
It's a great song, and yeah, it was weird that this song wasn't on it.
Right.
But at the same time, like I do feel like it's not even close to the best song on the album.
It is not the best song.
In my opinion,
it's not.
I put it like a great listen. That's where I'm.
Okay. I would kind of agree. One thing, and I know we're evaluating these on a song by song basis, but it's impossible for me to not bring this up. For me, there is a very noticeable change in recording quality
Yeah.
between these 3 tracks and the rest, and even Day and Night and the rest. You listen to his vocals on like a good set of headphones, you can really pick out that it's a different setup. There's a lot less of the high end on his voice, and his voice feels just like more compressed.
Really?
Like you can tell it's a different setup. It doesn't detract from Day and Night, because Day and Night is a absolute fucking powerhouse of a song. But like you can tell, and for me, there's like a little bit of a disconnect in that way.
To me, I always, especially because I had an exact opposite opinion on that. Because when Kid Named Cudi came out last year to streaming services, and I was able to spend a lot more time with that, there's a version of Day and Nights on that one too, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same song, it's the same beat, the same lyrics, and the same performance, but it's clearly re-recorded.
I don't think it's re-recorded. I think it's remastered.
Or remastered, remixed. I think, to me, it sounds noticeably different, like in the mix. And
I'd have to re-listen to the Kid.
You gotta listen to it back to back. Like you gotta do a direct comparison.
Yeah.
So to me, like I almost felt like it sounded like they recreated it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So for Man on the Moon, then, how do we feel? Are we thinking great listen?
I definitely put great listen because like as great as it is and as emblematic of the project as it is, I just think he has better songs. And I don't knock you for your recording quality comments. I get that these are extras, so I don't necessarily hold that against it, but it is objectively true.
It's something that even if you're not anticipating for it to, like, I would never expect it to detract from the experience, but it's something I can't help but notice.
Yeah.
TJF.
Which is going to be interesting going into this one because this is a certified classic.
This is a certified classic.
And I think the low quality or the more DIY aesthetic of it works in its favor.
That's why I love it.
Works in its favor.
There's some sacrilege happening here, however, unfortunately.
Okay.
The song that makes this song hit as hard as it does is not included here, which is Save My Soul. Because that is like a lead up to this. And they flow into one another. And they just like took this one and just put it there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Because like I remember hearing this song floating around on YouTube. So like I've always associated this song as like a single on its own.
Okay, that's fair.
I have zero association with this with a different song.
For me, the build of who's gonna save my soul now, and it just like goes all the way through, and then it builds up to it. It's like, but I could see that. I could see how like as a single, it's strong still.
Yeah,
I was gonna say it does work both ways, but I think as a single, it's strong enough by itself. It doesn't need an introduction track or anything. I think it's a classic.
Thinking? Classic, okay. I would say I would put this low classic or very, very high great listen. So I guess we'd put it more towards the center.
I'd be willing to put it low classic.
Yeah, we can put it low.
I would put it low classic. I think that's fair because like it is a, like you said it, like
it's a mixtape song.
It's a mixtape quality song.
It's a mixtape,
and I think it's a great mixtape quality song, and it's one of my favorite of his songs. And like once again, I think the lower, like the more DIY feel makes it better, not worse.
I was literally about to say I don't need to explain why Acid Rap is one of the best.
That's an album quality mixtape. Like that's an album quality mixtape. Yeah.
I will say, TJF is bookended, right? So it's got Save My Soul or whatever it's called that flows into it, and then the TJF flows into Cudi Spazzin'.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, not that it matters in the context of this tier list, I think significantly inferior to both of the others. Cudi Spazzin', the end of it, where he's just like going off on like shouting things out. Toledo, what up? Ohio, what up?
Yeah, no,
like,
that song's not good.
Get that shit out of here.
Yeah. That was
that's
a very
gives me
2000s mixtape thing. But yes, I agree.
Right.
That gives me very much like LeBron James at the last game of the World Series wearing the Cleveland or Nowhere shirt, and I'm like, I pick Nowhere.
That's hilarious. That's a very good bit. I like that.
Such an obscure thing to.
I don't know why. That's like cemented in my brain. The 2016, 26. Well, I remember why. Because I remember seeing footage of like people at a bar when this happened, where like LeBron was there, and everyone's like, the second LeBron's like on the screen wearing that shirt, everyone's like, boo, because like a bar in Wrigleyville.
Oh boy,
I get that.
Benefits of being in Lincoln Park when the Cubs won their only World Series.
I was 100 feet outside Wrigley Field when that happened.
Yeah, fuck.
I died. It took me
I'm about to say dangerous.
It took me like 3-4 hours to get back to the South Loop.
Oh, what a disaster.
Yeah.
Is there any love?
Ooh, this one, I think it's a bump.
I would put this as a bump by itself.
Yeah.
Although I really, again, don't love the placement of it in the context of the deluxe edition.
Yeah.
I am putting this as a great listen personally, but I'm okay with a high bump.
Yeah. It's super funny because I associate this with the movie 30 Minutes or Less, because that's where I first heard this.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that movie.
Yeah. It's such a fun comedy, and then you learn about the kind of problematic ass nature of it. Where like it's a real thing that happened and people died. Like, and they made a very goofy comedy about it, which is like very it's very inoffensive, but like they used like real names and everything. Like,
damn,
okay, yeah,
absolutely not.
Yeah, but yeah, no,
I was gonna say like the thing is with Is There Any Love? You know the video that you sent me on TikTok this week about drums?
Yeah,
drums are so. Do not mess up the drums.
No, yeah.
And so when I think of like perfectly executed like drum beat into a song, this would be one of the obvious.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I also really like how he just straight up says, "Call me Obama" on this.
Call me Obama. Like, it's very funny. Very 2008. Very like.
Long time ago.
Long time ago. Oh my God! Remember when the world wasn't awful, guys?
One thing that I harbor no nostalgia for as an individual, but very much like feel the nostalgic energy of on A Kid Named Cudi is the constant references to Bapes and 10 Deep. Oh my God.
I was 18. I did not know what Bape was. Like
to have the Bapestas with the 10 Deep T is like wild. And then recently, like 2018, there was a special 10 Deep commemorative anniversary t-shirt that came out, which is like all over print, and it's the moon from Kid Named Cudi, where it's like in the corner of the album. It's the whole shirt, it says that is like that. And it's just like, surprise, like weird obscure mixtape anniversary shirt because it gets shouted out on the album so much. It's like the unofficial collab.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
Wow, look at our final tier list. This is beautiful. This was a good idea. We should do this more often.
This was a good idea.
We made a tree.
Yeah, we made a tree. Yeah, or like half a mountain. Or half a spaceship. Like Star Wars Day Anyone. Like,
oh, we're back to this.
I'll Venmo myself $1. Just firing that gun and let it go. Like,
we almost made it. We were so close.
Oh my God.
I bet. No, yeah.
All right. Is there any final thoughts we want to give out about Man on the Moon, Jasper, Birthday Boy? Do you want to say anything about it?
I guess,
baby.
Yeah, the one thing that we didn't really touch on, just like industry influence. Like,
I mean, we talked about it a little bit about how he just like. I think there was a phenomenon that happened with movies where like the X-Men came out and it was a huge success, right? Mm-hmm. But then Spider-Man came out and it knocked the door down, and then every comic book got a movie, right? Mm-hmm. I think when it comes to like being emotionally vulnerable in music, the X-Men was Kanye. He did it first. And then Kid Cudi was kicking the door down.
For sure. Yeah.
I think that's how I see it.
I agree. I feel like, yeah, there's a reason today that's like a hot topic that people are into. I think that there's a whole generation of artists who wouldn't necessarily have a career, or at least the same form of career, because they have the ability and the flexibility to talk about things that, you know, were made popular and made front of mind in the culture by this album.
And like on one end, I wonder if without Kid Cudi, would it still have happened? I think it would have.
I think it would have, but I think it would not be. I think it would be like an alternative side of hip hop as opposed to so mainstream.
That's definitely a fair point to make. I just think it is undeniably reality that Kid Cudi did this. You know, like I don't think it was. You know, I think once again Kanye was the one who like kind of like proved that this could happen in a mainstream-esque sound, and Kid Cudi was just the winner of the arms race.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely think, eventually when Drake came along with like Young Money behind him, he probably still would have made a splash, but it's undeniable he made a bigger splash because of Kid Cudi.
Yeah, it's the stage was set. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you see Drake's career take off in the same way without it. I don't think you see people like Juice WRLD, X, Lil Uzi Vert, Travis have careers without it in a sense. Yeah. Or like to the scale that they do today. Maybe Travis, because his subject matter is different, but sonically he borrows a lot.
I think like if you just have, I think Travis is actually the best example of someone who wouldn't be here without Kid Cudi, because he has very direct inspiration from Kid Cudi.
Musically, yes, thematically less so, but sure.
Yeah, yes, thematically much less so. I definitely feel like the thing that makes, I'm trying to think of like a bad Kid Cudi clone.
I don't think there really is one.
Because like the thing was, maybe like Kid Ink was like.
Well, I don't think there's really anybody who's really a clone. I think it's too hard to imitate directly.
That's fair, but it's just like I think
a bad byproduct.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to think of a bad example.
Yeah.
Besides maybe Post Malone. I don't know. It's undeniably, the sing-songy hip hop opened the door for someone like that.
The thing is, you
Post
hate
Malone
Post Malone much more than like a lot of people.
Post Malone just broke the record for the most diamond singles, right? 8 diamond singles.
Yeah, and
or something like that.
Yeah, and he no longer is categorized as hip hop. Like,
no, I know.
I think that's fine. I think that's fine.
But I would never have categorized him as hip hop to begin with. To be honest.
But he was.
I know, but I don't agree with that.
Yeah, he was though. That's the thing, and yeah,
I would consider it like pop rap.
I think right now he's firmly pop, and I think that's why I hate him less.
Well, what's interesting enough, what you just said, pop rap, that's something that we were going to discuss as well, because there is a difference between rap and hip hop. So if he's pop rap, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, there is a difference between, to me, like I always think like that's such like a, I don't know, like to me, rap is the technique. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like it's a pop song using a rap style.
Yeah, it's like there's no guitar music. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
you look at like the vocal like the lyrical structuring of Congratulations. You could put that over like a drill beat, and it would, like, if you had Pop Smoke say the lyrics, like speak the lyrics to Congratulations, like it's a rap song, the rap lyrics. No. It's just that it's over a instrumentation that is inherently poppy.
Yeah. Well, I think Congratulations was more when he was very directly hip hop, like a big hip hop. Yeah. I think when he got into Beer Bongs and Bentleys and Hollywood's Bleeding and his most recent album, I think then he has gone very clearly into like the pop, almost like a Rocky kind of vibe. Which I appreciate. I think I much prefer newer Post Malone to older Post Malone. But, look, I'm just saying, I'm trying to scratch my brain of an artist that's like could be the downside of this, and that's where I went. Mm-hmm.
Fair. I guess the other thing that's like also worth considering is like the musical diversity, the ability to synthesize elements from different genres in a way like this. I think that definitely has paved the way for a lot of people sonically.
Yeah.
And I don't think you would see people like Lil Yachty putting out projects where they jump genres without somebody doing it first and really kind of taking a fall in a lot of ways. Because Cudi was really the first person to, I think, do that for mainstream hip hop.
I don't know about the first, because like there's been,
well, maybe not the first, but definitely like one of the biggest. Look at WZRD.
Yeah, no,
I wouldn't even say the biggest. I think he has the benefit of being one of the first people with the internet too.
Yeah,
sure, but that's
like
that's a byproduct.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a byproduct of it though. It's like the reach is part of the fact that exists. So like he was able to do it in a really big way for the time.
And like to support your arguments a little bit. Like a lot of them, until Kid Cudi came around, the most interesting genre mix-ups were happening more on the rock side with people like Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, or Jay-Z doing like his Linkin Park.
Yeah. Like a lot. It felt like all the more interesting rap rock fusions were happening in the rock world and not in the hip hop world.
Yeah.
And I would say it's a stretch to call this a hip hop rock fusion. It definitely takes inspiration from other genres.
For sure.
100%. But, and I don't think you're giving it more credit than like it deserves. I think you're absolutely right. But yeah, it does like lead the way. You know, the only thing is that, you know, I think he is a good rapper, and I kind of like just hearing that a little bit.
I agree.
And, you know, looking back on this album so many years later, I think we got that in his discography. Like, I don't think
Definitely.
Kid Cudi is someone that I am lacked for straight hip hop from. So, yeah, no.
And then I guess the other thing that needs to be addressed that we didn't address, production. One of the most, in my opinion, underrated producers of all time, Data Genius.
Yeah, on Day and Night.
On a lot of shit. And
Is
then
he?
also
'Cause I'm looking at the production credits right now.
well, I mean across his career as well.
Oh,
not just
okay,
like
yeah.
just in general. And then Plain Pat, obviously,
Yeah.
super influential, like made the album, gave the album its sound, and then Emil obviously as well is part of that. But I think production really is kind of like a central focus of this album that doesn't get talked about. You see like superstar producers today, like Pierre Byrne, and you see like Metro and all of them, and it's like it's surprising to me that side of this doesn't get a little more love or a little more attention, just because it's really what fostered that sound. You know, it's like Cudi came up with all the lyrics and like instrumentation was there, and he would like make up lyrics and music for it on the spot. But you don't see the appreciation there.
I think it's more of a timing thing in general.
Yeah.
I don't think that's to discredit any of them, but I wouldn't call them underrated. I just think during that time period, producers weren't the main focus, I would say. Even Kanye himself was a major producer, but he didn't want to be a producer because he didn't have enough to do what he wanted to do. I feel like 40 is not over. Like, I wouldn't call 40 overlooked, you know?
Yeah.
But he doesn't get any credit for anything.
Yeah, I will say that the Kanye is a good bit earlier, so I think things had started to change a little bit, but it definitely wasn't to the point where we were at in like 2014, 2015, when it's like things started to take off for producers.
I mean, even if you look at older producers now, you look at The Alchemist, you look at any of those people, they really didn't get credit until more recently, I would say, where their name is now considered like it's written on Spotify when you look at the song.
The only person I could think of who got that credit, like got his flowers at the time, like 90s, was like DJ Screw.
Dr. Dre before.
For sure. I mean, yeah.
But yeah, no, producers were definitely overlooked until the internet era. Like, if there's anything our generation can be proud of, it's the fact that we've made producers much more of an active part of the culture, I think.
I was about to say, as a culture in general, our generation likes people to get credit for the work they put in.
Yeah.
And I think the older generation may not be that work ethic.
And I think like, look, I think if this album came out nowadays, I think there would be a lot more discussions about the production.
Oh yeah.
But the thing 100%. Is that, like, you know, I do think if there's anything working against this album is that it's so clearly a classic. Yeah. You know, like, yes, like the discussions about the production were definitely overlooked at the time and haven't gotten their due. But I don't think there is a great hunger to discuss this album because everyone just kind of agrees
it's a classic
at its overall excellence.
Yes.
And like, look, it's one of those things I've talked about earlier. Like when you like something, like even if you don't have like the bias of being against critical thought, like you're just less likely to be critical of it just because you're just not. Like it's a thing that we do. And I think that's an example of what's happening here. And I think if it came out today, I think it would have gotten production would have gotten its due.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so wild and kind of disappointing to me that people like Dot are making really, really cool stuff today and still not really, doesn't seem like they're really getting the roses. Like Tequila Shots, that was like a big hit of a song. He's the producer on that. His tags at the beginning, Radio Silence. Or like Talk About Me, which is Jid and what is it, Denzel Curry on that as well? Yeah. And it's like, those are some hot names right now with like a Lyrical Lemonade video with Dot the Genius like all over it, like in the video,
like,
and nobody's talking about it. Like, it's crazy to me.
But like, do people talk about that stuff like
I was about to
outside
say,
of Reddit threads? Like, where are you expecting people to have these conversations?
I don't think that's produced.
I don't know. I feel like I see content about producers like every other day on IG, just like music content I get recommended.
Yeah, but like,
I mean, like that song in specific, like the songs you just named. I think they're good songs. You think they're good songs, but I don't think those were trending songs that were like in conversation.
Like,
what the fuck do these people know about me?
Look,
no one was singing that. We were singing it.
I was singing that all the time, dude.
Hey man, Jid and Smino sold out. So,
dude,
that's say absolutely yes.
Look, I'm feeling like Fat Gucci if there ever was one. Like, that's the hardest. Got your boy feeling like I'm Fat Gucci.
Gucci.
Yeah, I love that, dude. I'm gotta start saying that more often at the office. How you feeling? How you feeling? I'm feeling like Fat Gucci, dog.
How you feeling?
And like my 50-year-old creative director who's gonna be like, okay, like
literally, that's all they can say.
Yeah,
I'm hip with it.
All right.
But should we do recommend it?
Let's do our recommendations.
All right, but well, I got the doc open, so I'll just open it up. My first one, speaking about playlists that we were talking about earlier, my playlist is Neptune's Clouds, and I haven't listened to it in a very long time. And the first song I have from that is Boss, the song Risk featuring FJK, I want to say. And he performed it at Coachella. Absolutely phenomenal song. Just the vibes are immaculate. I love it.
Okay. I'm going to do my first one. It is a song that got into my rotation again because of a movie trailer, which is something that happens often to me. And I went back, I re-listened to it, and I've been re-listening to this artist, this group a lot since I've heard it. And it's Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys.
Oh, wow.
Hey.
Yeah, no. Dude, that song's so good. So many good bars in it. Just absolutely fantastic.
We're eventually going to have to do a Beastie Boys.
We got to do a Beastie Boys, but we got to get someone older, like, for that one.
Yes.
Because, like, look, here's the thing. As I've revisited the Beastie Boys, I'm like, oh, wow. Like, it is very clear that, like, they were of the culture, doing minimal appropriation. But at the same time, like, as much as I like it, it's a little corny. Like, even, like...
Yeah.
And, like, how could this not have been at the time? Like, you know, like... Don't get me wrong. This song bangs. I love the Beastie Boys. Undeniable truth, though.
Yeah.
All right.
Jasper?
My first one, Purvis, is Just For You. The song that's going to get you into Pink Floyd. It's off.
That's a lot of pressure.
It's off of Dark Side of the Moon, which up until very recently, I think, was the greatest selling album of all time. And it's The Great Gig in the Sky, which is an amazing instrumental and vocalized track, which is just like super intense, powerful. It's a bit of a roller coaster, and it does it without any words. So super cool.
Interesting. Okay, but I'll just take a look into it.
It's a great
My second song is going to be by Duckworth. It's going to be a song called "Make You Go."
That's a name I have not heard in a long time.
Man,
wow.
Yeah, I enjoyed going back and listening to this. I highly recommend it. Brandon?
Okay, it's me. Yeah. I feel like I've recommended this before, but I've gone over the thing several times, and I don't see it, so I'm going for it. Because this song showed up on my shuffle, and I was like, I was prepped to recommend Intergalactic, and I'm like, I think this song might be the exact opposite. And so I'm recommending Tints, Anderson .Paak featuring Kendrick Lamar.
Okay, but
yeah,
I like this.
Yeah,
that's actually a really good song.
Yeah, it's a good 1-2 punch.
I just remember I don't know if this is on the album. I think this is on. Is this on the album with like the 6 summers or something?
Yeah.
And we would just
this shit gonna bang for at least 6 summers.
We said it every day
love
for
that
no
so
reason. We said it every single day.
Dude, I did that.
No
dude,
reason.
I remember just circling back to the conversation we had last week on Jeopardy when Killer Mike is like the Jewel Runners top tag team for 2 summers. I used to say that all the time with like my art director because we won a competition back to back and they were summers. We were like top tag team both summers. What's up? And then I sent him that and I'm like, dude, it's 6 summers now. Like it is a summer's arm race.
When I hear about summers, I can never like not think about 5 beats a day for 3 summers.
5 beats a day for 3. Dude, I've said that so many times. Like, yeah, but if you made 5 beats a day for 3 summers.
3 summers,
like, yeah. Oh my God. I love summers as a unit of measurement.
I love it until
someone.
I love it until someone uses it as a unit of measurement as a verb.
Yeah, I've never heard that. If someone did
says,
that, I would chop their head off.
If someone says, "Where did you summer?" That's how you know they have too much money.
I don't know. Like
that is also true.
I'm summered in the Hamptons.
I know someone who goes to Barbados every year for Christmas, and even they don't do that. So,
what do you winter?
It's like, yeah, how do you spring? It's like with moon shoes, like everyone else. Like,
please.
I love Sky Mall.
Yeah, I love Sky Mall. We should all get moon shoes. Like
next Man on the Moon Revisited featuring.
Yeah, moon shoes.
All right.
Think of how much better views we'd get at concerts.
Just crushing people.
Yeah, love just crushing people.
All right, my last one is gonna be Kid Cudi song off a project I don't think is as appreciated as it could be. Passion, Pain, and Demon Slaying, Releaser, which is the closest thing we'll get to if Kid Cudi made a like Gregorian chant. It's dark, it's heavy, it's intense. It's on my evil shit playlist. It's
okay, but I'll take that Kid Cudi recommendation for the Kid Cudi podcast.
I hate to do it to him.
Had to do it to him.
Had to do it to him.
All right, well.
All right,
Jasper.
Well, this episode.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Jasper!
Appreciate it.
Yeah. I thought it'd be very funny if we opened this episode with us in the middle of singing "Happy Birthday."
I will leave.
But then we had the Star Wars rant, and we had to start it super organically, which I always prefer. Like,
so we normally do.
Yeah.
No millennial pauses here.
No millennial pauses here. Just pure insanity.
Pure Bar Wars.
Yeah. Welcome to Bar Wars. All right, gentlemen.
Purvis is so mad, but he can't stop smiling. I love it.
I forget that's why we even brought it up. Just Bar Wars. And I'm like, bro, are you serious?
Star Wars is the best bars about Star Wars. Dude, imagine if Chewbacca did ad-libs on a Griselda song. Just imagine.